Hey, what's up, people? Welcome to my review and in depth analysis of The Dark Knight Rises. And this will conclude my review of the Dark Knight trilogy right here. So let's get started. I have a love hate relationship with this movie, but upon reflecting after this most recent viewing, I think it's a little bit more hate than love. So let me just summarize my thoughts really quick. So, what do I love about this movie? Let's start out with the positives. I love Batman, Bruce Wayne, all that stuff is good. Bane was great up until the end. He went out like a sucker at the end, but everything else was great. He was such a great character and a great villain and very intimidating, and I really enjoyed Tom Hardy's performance. I also enjoyed Talia al Ghul. She was excellent because I'm a huge fan of Ra's al Ghul, all those stories, the Demon trilogy, all that excellent storytelling from the old school Batman comics. I love it. And I thought Talia al Ghul was good. Even though typically when you read about negative things in regards to this film, people kind of say the Talia al Ghul aspects weren't that good, but I disagree. That is one of the things that I actually enjoyed about this film. And I also really enjoyed the whole aspect of Bruce Wayne having to escape that dungeon by rising, climbing his way out of that dungeon. That was all great stuff. What am I indifferent to? I am indifferent to Catwoman. I am not a big fan of Anne Hathaway's version of Catwoman. I used to really not like it, but with this most recent viewing, it was okay. I don't hate it anymore, but it was just serviceable. Honestly, it felt like she was phoning it in as Catwoman. Her version of Selena Kyle was a lot better than her Catwoman, if you know what I'm saying. So her Selena Kyle was pretty decent. It was comic accurate in my opinion, but her Catwoman, it just felt phoned in and uninspired. Now, what did I hate about this movie? I hated this Blake character played by Joseph Gordon Levitt. I thought it is ultimately what dragged the movie down. I hated his character. And not only did I hate his character, I hate almost everything that is associated with the Gotham Police Department subplot in this film. It just drags everything down. It just makes the film feel like a bloated mess, in my opinion. And this whole twist at the end with Blake turning out to be Robin was just complete BS. And every time I watch that, I feel infuriated. Blake is a boring, bland character, and we spend all this time, so much time is dedicated to this character, and I could care less about him. And in regards to the other things associated with the Gotham Police Department, it's not necessarily that they focused on the Gotham Police Department and that's why I'm upset. It's that everything pertaining to the writing in association with the Gotham Police Department subplot is just stupid. It's written like a terrible Saturday morning cartoon. And that's what really gets to me in regards to this film is that this movie tries so hard to be serious in its tone that the writing, which is pretty bad in regards to the Gotham Police Department subplot, it just feels twice as ridiculous because it's written like a Saturday morning cartoon. And I am going to elaborate on all that in this review. And despite that, the one saving grace, or one of the main saving graces of this film, is the fact that they use that serious tone. Because initially, when I first saw this film, I liked it. And it wasn't until repeated viewings that I started to realize how stupid some of the subplot is, some of the writing. It just makes no sense whatsoever, especially the character motivations for the Gotham Police Department. Some of the decisions that these individuals in the Gotham Police Department make as far as their strategy and everything, it just makes no sense at all. And there's some bad writing in this movie. Period. Really bad, and it's really unfortunate. And I don't know what happened because Batman Begins and The Dark Knight were outstanding. They were nearly impeccable in the way that they were delivered, intellectually calculated. And that's what I expect from Christopher Nolan. And honestly, this is Christopher Nolan's worst movie. I think that this is probably the only bad movie that he's made. Even though it's watchable, even though I appreciate things about this film, I own it. I like some things about this film, but when I watch it, it is a chore. It is a total chore to watch this movie. I'd rather jump to the scenes that I like and just ignore the stuff that I don't like, because it's like 40% of this film I like and 60% of it I don't. 60% of it I'm watching it and I just want to pull my hair out. And another thing that I don't like about this film is that Batman feels like he's barely in the movie. And why is that? It's because we're spending so much time with this Blake character. And Batman just feels like he becomes a supporting character in his own film, at least until the third act. Finally, in the third act, Batman becomes front and center to the picture, to the film. Now, like I said, the tone of this film will have you feeling like, hey, this is a great film. Oh my God, there's so much serious stuff going down. And it's kind of what saves the film, because I can appreciate the fact that they created a serious tone. But like I said, once you start to scrutinize the writing, start to question the motivations, the character motivations, and some of the decisions, you're like, this is dumb. This is stupid. So without further ado, let's begin this review and in-depth analysis of Batman: The Dark Knight Rises. So I like how Bane was trained by Ra's al Ghul. I thought that was an awesome twist, and I love how we come full circle to Batman Begins. And if you really think about it, a lot of the times in motion picture trilogies, the third film connects back to the first film in some shape, form, or fashion. Like the character kind of comes full circle. And when I say the character, I mean the protagonist. He comes full circle from where his journey began. However, he is changed. And I like how they incorporated Bane into that. And like I said, making Blake Robin it was just pathetic, especially in the way that it was executed. And I just don't buy the fact that Batman he's just going to hand over his entire legacy to a guy that he only talked to 2 times, somebody that he barely knows. And it's just so stupid, especially how Blake just guesses. He just pulls it out of his ass who Bruce Wayne is, who Batman is. He's able to make the connection because, oh, I just knew it when I saw you that you really were Batman. And I'm just like, dude, yeah, right. It's just unbelievable, and it's just stupid, especially when you reflect upon how of a safeguarded secret this thing is. Bruce Wayne being Batman, whether it's the comics, the TV shows, whatever. This is top secret stuff, and Blake is just able to be like, oh, I knew it. I just knew you were Batman. And then he goes and sees Bruce Wayne and he tells him, I knew you were Batman. And then Bruce Wayne is like, oh yeah, nice, good guess, man. Yeah, I am Batman. And when the first Batman film came out, the one by Tim Burton, everybody was on Tim Burton's ass for the whole Kim Basinger, Vicky Vale being allowed in the Batcave by Alfred, and how he basically revealed Batman's identity to Vicky Vale, and how that is a big no-no. Like, oh my God, that's lore-breaking stuff. Batman would never do that, allow that. Alfred will never do that. But when it comes to this, it's like I hear crickets. No one has anything to say. Instead, the general consensus is that The Dark Knight Rises is an amazing film. And even when this film first came out and people get a few gave it a negative review, like the Batman fans were issuing death threats to the people that gave it negative reviews. And I'm basically just saying, for me, for some kid to just automatically guess who Batman is, and for Bruce Wayne just to be like, you know what, you're right, to some guy that he just met, is just stupid. It's just dumb. And another thing that I don't like about this film is just that Bruce Wayne, he just sits around in the first act of this film I'm talking about. Bruce Wayne is such a little bitch at the beginning of this film. So he just mopes around, crying like a sucker, and I can't believe that 7 years pass between The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises. 7 years pass, and all he's been doing this entire time is crying and moping and feeling sorry for himself over Rachel. Over Rachel. A woman that he like, yes, they were childhood friends, but they never had this connection. Remember that he disappeared for all those years to train to be Batman and came back, and they weren't even really together like that. They never had this intimate romantic relationship other than the one that they had when they were childhood friends. So for Bruce Wayne to be like, oh, I lost Rachel in 7 years, I can understand if it was a year, maybe even two, but 7 years this guy's been locked away, like Howard Hughes, and he's just been moping, oh, Rachel. Oh my God, man. It's pathetic. Bruce Wayne is pathetic in this movie. It sucks. It sucks that they basically start the film out like this. This is the beginning of this film. Bruce Wayne, he's a pathetic little bitch. He's a simp. He's a wuss. And I hate it. I just, over Rachel, like, I do like how the characters, the protagonists, have to basically face the choices that they made in The Dark Knight, which is that they lied. So Gordon lied to the public about what really happened to Harvey Dent, and Alfred has to face the fact that he lied to Bruce Wayne about how Rachel felt. How she basically was like, "No, I don't want to be with you, Bruce. I want to be with Two-Face." And I get it. Yeah, Bruce Wayne, he really wanted to be with Rachel, and he thought that the feeling was reciprocated and she died. But I just don't buy the fact that he would mope and pity himself for 7 years, people. Let's think about that. 7 years for a woman that he was never really, that wasn't his girlfriend, wasn't his fiance, wasn't his wife. 7 years. Really comprehend that. That sucks as far as a story. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Now, one thing I will say is that I love the opening to this film. It's an amazing opening, a great technical achievement utilizing IMAX. This whole this whole sequence with the planes and all that, it feels like something out of a James Bond film. And I really, really also enjoy Bane's voice. It's a haunting voice. It's iconic, just like James Earl Jones as Darth Vader's is iconic, his voice. And I thought it was awesome. That was a great opening sequence, and the music by Hans Zimmer was outstanding. I feel like this is his best score out of the entire trilogy. The music for this opening sequence was so intense. It really feels like you are in for some serious stuff. Unfortunately, once you start to think about some of the writing and some of the things happening, you realize how stupid it is. And here is one example of writing that is just dumb. And the film slowly starts to come apart, in my opinion. And this is where my frustration plays in. This film is such a frustrating watch for me because there are things that I love about the film, but things like this, which I'm about to talk about, that just really, really upset me. Now, what am I talking about? So, the congressman that gets basically kidnapped by Catwoman, Anne Hathaway, whatever, Selena Kyle. And like I said, I'm indifferent to this version of Catwoman. I don't love her, I don't hate her. It's just whatever. It's meh. Now, Catwoman basically kidnaps this congressman who was at Wayne Manor for some party and all that. And we see the congressman and Selena Kyle, Catwoman, in this bar, right? And while the congressman is in this bar, while supposedly being kidnapped, and supposedly every single police uh, officer is looking for this guy. It's a big deal, right? A congressman goes missing, and it's a big deal. He's gone missing. However, the congressman, pay attention, man. The congressman is sitting at this bar showing no sign or indication that he was kidnapped by Catwoman or held against his will. I mean, you see him pounding a drink, smirking, smiling, and even when the SWAT team comes to rescue him, he says, "Call me." And I'm like, what? I mean, I couldn't even put two and two together when I first saw this film, and upon repeated viewing, it's like, oh, the reason why they all came there was because that dude that she was making the deal with, Catwoman was making the deal with, used the missing congressman's phone, and that's a big deal because he's gone missing. And I'm like, really? I mean, just based off the visuals, that did not come across to me at all. That wasn't conveyed to me at all because the congressman, he's hanging out. He's in a good mood. It seems like he's having a good time. Call me. What? This is stupid. Now, that's just one thing. And that's probably a minor offense because as the film progresses, things like that occur more and more, but they're even dumber. So basically, up to this point, the story plot is basically that Bane indirectly hires Catwoman because Bane's using those Wall Street dudes to get Bruce Wayne's fingerprints so they could swindle him out of all his money, right? And this subplot that's going on, it's almost it's really reflective of the zeitgeist of the time when this film first premiered. And if you remember correctly, the zeitgeist, what was going down in society was a lot of resentment. This was the time of Occupy Wall Street. So there was a lot of resentment against privileged, wealthy people. And I thought that this film touched upon that and a lot of the moral ambiguity surrounding those sentiments. And I really appreciated that. And, even after watching this movie again, I see that this sentiment that's in this film, it also translated or was also conveyed in the most recent Batman film, The Batman, 2022. So, and I like exploring those themes because just because you're privileged doesn't necessarily mean you're a bad person. I mean, just look at Bruce Wayne, just look at Batman. However, that sentiment that it's prevalent in society because of the disparity between the wealthy and the poor and the shrinking middle class. And I'm really appreciative that this film touched upon that. So that's one of the interesting things about this film and one of the things that I appreciate about this film. So you're going to have a lot of stupid writing. However, the film touches upon themes that are very interesting, and that's what makes this film watchable, even though it's a highly frustrating and maddening experience, at least for me. Now, despite the first act of this film, where Bruce Wayne is acting like a pathetic little bitch, Batman's return was absolutely spectacular and badass. When he went after Bane and his henchmen after that whole scene where they basically terrorize Wall Street or the Gotham version of Wall Street, and I thought that was awesome. That was such an excellent return. I really felt it, even though it was really late into the film. I mean, it feels like the first hour of this movie has no Batman. It may be more like 45 minutes. However, I felt it, man. And like I said in the introduction to this review, it feels like I'm not watching a Batman movie. And I think Blake even gets more screen time than Batman. It feels that way. I honestly feel like they needed to cut this Blake character out. I understand the intent is to hand the Batman legacy over to a next character, wrap it up nicely, but I feel like you cannot shoehorn that in this movie. You cannot force it. It was entirely forced. Batman does not know Blake. Bruce Wayne does not know this guy enough to hand the legacy over to him. You should have introduced that character in the last film. I think a better ending would have been for to be ambiguous, make people think that Batman died when he got rid of that atom bomb or the fusion bomb. But then at the very end, you just see him with Catwoman, or basically Alfred sees him with Catwoman at that restaurant, and then boom, just end it like that. You don't know if he's ever gonna come back as Batman. Just leave it up in the air. All we need to know is that he survived. Nice happy ending, right? Just end the trilogy like that. If you want to hand over the legacy in the Dark Knight universe, write a comic book series or something. But to shoehorn Blake in this movie, it really drags it down. And my whole point is when Batman finally is graced upon our screen, it was so highly welcomed by me. I was like, yes. And I really feel it, and I loved it. Even though I'm not a huge fan of this version of the Bat plane, I guess that's what we're calling it. Nevertheless, I thought it was great his return. Even though I think the Bat plane in the Dark Knight trilogy it's ugly. I don't know, man. I don't know what the hell it is. It looks like a flying space heater that you those little heaters that you put in the corner of your room if you don't have gas heating, an electrical heater. It looks like a one of those space electrical heaters flying in the air. But you know what? I forgive that because again, Batman's return was just so great. I loved it. It was awesome. Now, I really enjoy the relationship between Bruce Wayne and Alfred, and the way it's depicted in this film. It's very fatherly, and I really like that. And Alfred, he basically wants Bruce Wayne to have a better life. He doesn't want to see him sacrificing himself, and he doesn't want to see He doesn't want to see Bruce Wayne unhappy. He wants him to have a better, happier life. And I really, really love that sentiment that Alfred had in this film, and his acting was great. The character was well depicted, and like I stated previously, it's very interesting to see Alfred also have to face the consequences for lying. And I really appreciated that because even though I really enjoyed The Dark Knight, I remember my during my first viewing when the film came to an end, I really felt like, really, they're gonna lie to everybody. Gordon and Batman are gonna lie to the public, and Alfred is gonna lie to Bruce Wayne. And the reason why I felt like that is because I was basically just reflecting upon what kind of message is that sending to the audience, that it's okay to lie. I mean, it's a morally ambiguous thing. I mean, it happens, right? I mean, if you think the government is 100% transparent with the public, you're a fool. Not even parents are 100% transparent with their own children. There are some things that you have to basically conceal for the betterment of those you look over. Even if you've ever been a manager or supervisor of employees, you know that you're not going to be 100% honest with what's discussed behind closed doors upon management. So it's a really interesting thing to ponder, and I appreciate how this film showed the consequences of that, and how that that dishonesty or those white lies, whatever you want to say, that our protagonists committed come back to bite them in the ass, so to speak. Now, Daggett uses the thumbprints to commit fraud against Bruce Wayne during the stock exchange heist with Bane. So that's basically what goes down. And the reason why I point this thing out is because once we get introduced to Talia al Ghul, which I love, man. I love her character and I love the actress that portrays her. She was so good in the film about Edith Piaf, who she won Best Actress for that film. She's one of my favorite actresses. She's a gorgeous woman, and I think she was perfect casting for Talia al Ghul. As somebody that grew up reading the comics about Ra's al Ghul and Talia al Ghul, I thought it was basically a dream casting for me. However, the reason why I bring it up is because Talia al Ghul's plan, it's kind of it's kind of poorly written. I'm going to be honest, because her plan is based entirely on the possibility of Bruce Wayne trusting her with the fusion device. And I'm just sitting there and I'm kind of like, well, what if Bruce Wayne didn't trust you? Like were you banking on the fact that he would trust you and that he wouldn't have any reservations? I mean, I understand this may be a nitpick. However, it's just I think it's more glaring because the film is taking itself so serious. So when I watch it, I'm just kind of like, really? Like what if Bruce Wayne hadn't gave you the keys to the kingdom, in other words? But whatever. To me, that's a minor complaint compared to the other ones that I have coming up. Now, it takes a whole hour for the movie to catch up to the plot point of the nuclear physicist who worked on the fusion device being kidnapped by Bane and staging his death, which took place during that epic opening sequence, right? So that epic opening sequence involving the planes and that IMAX sequence, which was great. Basically, what I'm complaining about is that big opening sequence occurs, and then a whole hour passes by, and then all of a sudden we come back to that plot point, and I feel like there's too much time that went by. And when we finally get reintroduced rather, to that plot point, it's kind of jarring for me because I'm like, oh yeah, now what happened again? And I have to recall what happened. And I feel like the film, and I'm going to keep saying this, the film would have benefited if that whole Blake bullshit subplot was not in this film. If that had been cut out, instead of it being a whole 1 hour later to catch up with that plot point involving the nuclear physicist, it would have been like 40 minutes. But we spent all this time on Blake and like just stupid, pointless scenes like him talking to that little kid. Oh, you think he'll come back? Oh, all this stuff and like, oh man, I knew you were I knew you were Batman since I first saw you. And just man, I mean, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, he's a good actor. I'm not knocking him, but this Blake character is just so boring and so bland. He has the same facial expression throughout the entire film. Every time he's on the screen, I just feel like going to the bathroom or checking my cell phone. He sucks. So we finally catch up to the plot point involving the nuclear physicist who worked on the fusion device, right? And it's nice to be reminded of that. Anyway, after we catch up to that point, this fight ensues between Batman and Bane. So we finally get the showdown between Batman and Bane, or the first showdown. This is the first match of the century. Rematch occurs later at the end of the film, but this was epic. This was an epic fight, and this is one of the things that this film does great. This is like reading Nightfall, with where Bane was initially introduced in the comics, where he breaks Batman's back. This was such a great fight. I loved it. I thought it was amazing, and I especially love Bane, how he taunted him. and how there was just great dialogue. Like the writing, as far as the dialogue in the sequence, was outstanding. I love when he says, I was wondering what would break first, your spirit or your body, when Bruce Wayne sees that basically Bane is now going to control all his gadgets and his cars and all that stuff. And I love how when Batman attempts to use theatrics and deception, using his gadgets, turning the lights off and utilizing the darkness, how Bane says, and I'm paraphrasing right here, how Bane says, you use the darkness as weaponry or as an ally or something like that, but I was born in the darkness. I love that. That was amazing dialogue. And when he finally broke his back, it was a dream come true. It's like seeing something right out of the comics, well executed with great acting, great directing, great costumes, great set design, great music. I mean, it was amazing. I loved it. Now, when Bruce Wayne is placed in that dungeon or prison, him climbing to the light out of the darkness was a great metaphor. I mean, the Dark Knight Rises. This right here is one of my favorite sequences out of the entire film. And one of the saving graces to this film, despite all the other frustrating elements that I don't like. This right here was great stuff. I loved every moment in here. It was awesome. And also getting the backstory about Bane and Talia al Ghul, how she was basically abandoned down there, and how Bane took care of her, and how she was the one that escaped. And this whole time, we thought it was Bane, but it was actually Talia al Ghul. And I loved all that stuff, and how Bane had to basically pay for basically loving and caring for Talia as a child. I thought that was awesome. And when you also hear when Talia recounts the story between her and Bane, how she hated her father for what she did to Bane. And it wasn't until that he died, when Batman ultimately killed him or was responsible for his death, that she forgave him and decided to take up the mantle as the leader of the League of Shadows and to finish what he started. I thought that was awesome. Now, this right here, what I'm about to talk about, is aside from Blake's dumbass, this right here is probably the number one thing that I really hate about this movie. And a lot of people that I hear a negative criticism from against this film also cite this, and it's because it is highly noteworthy. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about how all the cops, all the police go down into the sewers in order to get Bane. And this right here was just beyond stupid. And this is why this whole like, oh, there's no more police in Gotham, and oh my god, it was, you are telling me that any city in America, as far as the police department, would be that stupid to send every single police officer to catch one guy. Or not one guy, well, whatever, his organization. For me, that is highly impossible and it's stupid. So you're going to tell me, and they're the ones that said it, not me. They said every single cop. So when you say every single cop, to me that is just stupid. It's dumb. So you would leave the entire city, Gotham, which is notorious for its criminality, unpoliced just to catch Bane. I mean, did it really have to be every single cop? And I know what they were trying to do. They were trying to create this suspense and create big, high stakes. But to me, it was unnecessary. You could have even said half the police, and it would have still had the same effect. But since we're being all serious in tone and we're taking it serious, it's like the error sticks out even more like a sore thumb, the stupidity of it, because we're taking it so serious. So when you say every single cop and you're presenting the film like it's super serious, it just comes across as twice as dumb. And I'm just gonna say it right now. This film is my second least favorite out of the entire Batman film series. I mean, for me, the worst one is Batman and Robin, and then this one. I'd rather watch Batman Forever any day over this film. I'd rather watch Batman vs. Superman any day over this film. That's how frustrating this stupid crap in this movie is to me. I mean, it's maddening because, again, this film has great moments in it, but the writing is stupid. Again, you're going to send every single cop in Gotham down into the sewers, and then what happens? They get trapped. And now, oh, Bane and his men run the city. Why? Because Gotham PD were complete and utter imbeciles. And another thing that makes this plot so stupid was, of course, the plan relied entirely on the possibility of all the cops in Gotham going underground in order to be trapped in the first place. So Bane and Talia al Ghul knew that basically Jim Gordon or James Gordon or whoever was in charge of the police was going to send all the cops underground so that they can be trapped. They knew it. How did they know? Because they're psychic. They have powers like Charles Xavier. I don't know, man. They're mind readers. I don't know. Or maybe it's because they read the script and they knew in advance. Either way, it's stupid. So ultimately what happens is the fusion reactor's core is removed and now it's a bomb. So that was the whole point of Bane kidnapping that physicist in the first place. Now, I really like how Bruce Wayne had to jump without the rope in order to escape. Basically, he needed that fear of death, because that would be the ultimate motivation to succeed, to persevere, to survive, to rise. I love that. That was outstanding. That was great stuff. That's how this film is. One moment you get the dumbest idea you've ever seen in your life, and then the next moment you get a brilliant idea. That's why it's a frustrating watch. It's like being pulled apart between the idiocy and brilliant stuff. I mean, it really is. That's how it feels. Now, here's my point. Case in point right here. After this amazing scene that was very inspirational and seeing Bruce Wayne persevere, we come to this dumb scene where basically Bruce Wayne just pops up out of nowhere in order to reintroduce himself to Selina Kyle, Catwoman. Now, it wouldn't be a big deal if the film wasn't trying so hard to be serious and how no one can escape Gotham. If one human soul even crosses that bridge, if one human soul either leaves or enters Gotham, the entire place will go up in a nuclear holocaust, basically, right? So it's like super serious. No one can enter or leave Gotham. Every single avenue of entry or exit is being overseen by Bane and his men. It's really emphasized. Nobody can enter or leave Gotham, and if somebody does, the entire place will go up in nuclear holocaust, right? Boom. And then out of nowhere, Bruce Wayne is like, hey, what's up? I'm back. And it's like, look, dude, this is important. I need to know how you were able to return to Gotham without being detected. Like, that's such a huge plot hole. And people have been arguing on Reddit, whatever, the internet, how it's not a plot hole. Like, look, dude, if you're going to emphasize how important it is that no one enter or leave Gotham and just have Bruce Wayne pop up like that, we need to know. I need to know. Because I just out of curiosity, like forget it being like a plot hole or anything like that. I really would just genuinely like to know how he was able to re-enter Gotham without being detected. I mean, wouldn't you want to know? I feel like that would not only be entertaining, but it's also an important plot point. And a lot of things went over my head upon my first initial viewing of this film, as far as like some of the dumb stuff. But from day one, that one caught me. And it always bothered me, especially how nonchalant it is. Because this whole time it's like serious. Everything is serious. Oh my God. Bane has the entire Gotham City on lockdown. You got the music just really serious, the tone, the directing. And it's like, oh my God, no one can enter or leave Gotham, man. Oh my God, how are our heroes going to escape this? And then boom, Bruce Wayne is just in Gotham out of escaping out of that dungeon. Hey, what's up? How you doing, Selena? What's up? It's just like, what the hell? Like, how did this happen? Like, how did you get back undetected? And like I said, man, a lot of proponents of this film, they just shower it with this positive praise, infinite praise, and I never hear anybody like try to refute this criticism right here because to me it's really important. And after this, we have more ridiculous stuff going on here. So finally, we have the big epic showdown between the Gotham Police Department and Bane and his goons, right? And on the surface, this looks like some pretty intense, epic stuff. The music is intense, the directing is well executed. Big brawl, right? There's a big brawl going on. However, something really struck a chord with me when I was watching this as far as it being ridiculous because if you really pay attention while they're having their big brawl, huge brawl, right? It looks like 100 versus 100 men, right? And it's a fist fight. And I'm seeing all these guys fighting and between Bane's men and the Gotham Police Department, they're fighting. And at the same time, while they're having this fist fight, this epic brawl, I would say like more than half of the people involved have machine guns to the strapped to their back, guns in their holsters, and they're fighting. And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking like, why, why are you engaging in a fist fight when you can just have a straight fire battle right here with your firearms? And it just makes no sense. And I feel like they just did it just to stage this epic brawl. Because for me, and initially they did this right when the Gotham Police Department start to charge towards Bane's men, you hear gunshots going off. So they do use their guns initially, right? But then they just decide to just plow right through the guns, through the fire, rapid fire, or whatever you want to say, the gunfire rather, and they just engage in this brawl, right? So I guess everybody forgot that they have a weapon, they have a gun that they could use. And I just think it's stupid because to me, it's like, look, if we're really serious about fighting this war on the streets, I mean, sure, you may have some men that rush in there, want to engage in hand to hand combat, especially those from the League of Shadows, whatever. But at the same time, if I'm fighting a war, I would just be like, look, we got all these guns. These guys want to charge in. That's fine. Let's just chill here and just mow them down easy, right? That's how a war is fought. And I just felt like it's just kind of silly. And it may be a nitpick because, like I said, on the surface, it's an epic fight. But for me, I just expect more from Christopher Nolan because usually his stuff is well calculated, it's logical, but here it's just kind of silly, despite on the surface it looking pretty epic. So finally, we get round two, or not round two, but the second match between Batman and Bane, and it starts out well, despite the whole ridiculous scenario with Bane's men fighting Gotham PD in a fist fight when everybody has guns. And yeah, the second fight between Batman and Bane is intense up until the moment where he dies, right? And I'm kind of skipping over important plot elements here, but like I said, if you've been listening to this review, you already know Talia al Ghul. That's the twist, that she's basically the main villain, right? And Bane, once Talia al Ghul is revealed as the main villain, It's like Bane just like tucks his tail between his legs and he becomes this this entirely inept character. Like he's no longer intimidating. He just like has no more lines of dialogue except like the last line that he says to Bruce before Catwoman shoots him, which I have another problem with. I have a problem with that as well. But it just really sucks because this whole time, Bane was put up to be like this mastermind, right? This epic villain. And I really felt that with him. And then once Talia al Ghul is revealed as the one pulling all the strings, Bane just kind of like becomes this pathetic character. And I understand that his mask got broken and maybe, that kind of made it slowed him down, and I understand that, but he just kind of went out like a bitch, in for lack of a better term. Especially when Catwoman shows up and shoots him, and I have a problem with that because look, this whole time Batman's thing has been don't kill people, right? It's in this trilogy. That's what it's been. Don't kill people. We don't want to be like the people that we're fighting against. We don't want to be like the enemies that we're fighting against. And then out of nowhere, Catwoman just shoots Bane, kills him, and she even has a sly remark about it. And Batman is just like, okay, let's go about our main objective, right? And I'm just like, and the only reason why it bothers me so much is because throughout this trilogy, you've been emphasizing how important it is not to kill, and then you kill this guy, and now it's okay. So the whole message that we've been sustaining throughout this trilogy just gets flushed down the toilet. So in this predicament, it's okay to kill. However, when it came to Ra's al Ghul trying to basically poison the water of Gotham, oh no, no, it was not okay to kill. No, no, no. I don't know why Christopher Nolan and the writers decided to do that. That really, really, to me, flushes the main, I guess you want to say, the main thesis or the main theme of this entire trilogy down the drain. It really did. And I really didn't like it. And I walk away kind of confused, like, okay, so what's the message here? For the first two films, it's like, no, we cannot turn into the people that we're fighting against. We can't turn into these villains, right? And then now it's okay to kill. It's stupid. It really is. It's really stupid. And like I said in the introduction to this review, I love Talia al Ghul. I thought the actress that played her did a good job, despite it kind of feeling a little like shoehorned in there. It was kind of like rushed. And I'm going to blame this once again on the whole Blake subplot because we take up so much time following this useless, worthless character around, this boring character. And all that time could have been allotted to developing Talia al Ghul, or maybe even, how about this? Here's an idea: paying more attention to Batman, spending more time with Batman instead of this boring character Blake. Okay, so the Talia al Ghul twist, I appreciated it. It was welcome because again, I'm a big fan of the Ra's al Ghul comics, and for Talia al Ghul to take up the mantle of her father's legacy just makes sense. And it's just awesome to see Talia al Ghul in a live action Batman film. Plus, I love the actress. She did a great job. And when you really think about it, she was kind of badass. I mean, once she finds out that the bomb kind of isn't going to go off unless she actively participates in igniting it, and basically, in other words, she basically hops into that truck and goes after the fusion bomb herself. And I'm watching it and I'm like, man, she like she's actually taking it upon herself to do it herself. She didn't send one of her goons to do it. She hopped in that car, in that truck, and she's like jumping from the truck onto the truck. I forget if she starts out in the tumbler and then kind of like jumps into the truck that had the fusion bomb. But my point is, she's the one doing it. She's like, screw this. If you need something done, you got to do it yourself. And I really thought that was badass of Talia al Ghul. And it was great. it was great to see Batman save the city in the way that he did. That was an epic action sequence, the way he was chasing Talia and the bat plane. And, it was epic. Well shot with the IMAX sequences. And when he finally takes that bomb away and it detonates in the ocean, that was epic. I felt something. It was really a moment of triumph. It makes you want to pump your fist at the screen, like, yeah, Batman, right? Great. It was beautiful. It really was. Now, the film wraps up into this pathetic, stupid handing off of the Batman legacy to Blake, right? And like I've been saying, it's unearned, it's forced, it's stupid, but the most stupid thing in this movie is when Blake goes to pick up, I guess you want to say, the coordinates to the Bat Cave and all the materials that Bruce Wayne left them behind, because Bruce Wayne is presumed dead, but we know he's not dead because Alfred sees him with Selena Kyle. But when Blake goes to pick up Bruce Wayne's stuff that he left for him, the woman that is basically giving him the stuff. I mean, this is like one of the worst lines ever. It's just so stupid. It's so forced. It makes me want to just like hurl a brick at my TV screen. So he goes and he picks up the stuff, and then the lady says, "You should use your full name. I like that name, Robin." And I'm like, you know what, man? Piss off. Piss off. Screw you. I don't care what you say. That's not Robin. So that's the big twist. That's why we've been paying attention to this useless, boring character for the past 2 hours and 40 minutes. And I swear, 40 of that minutes feels like it's been dedicated to this boring Blake character. And it's because it's Robin. Oh, he's going to be the next Batman. Oh, and I'm just like, how lame. This sucks. This is the worst version of Robin in the history of Batman, in my opinion. Chris O'Donnell, who played Robin in Batman Forever, and the terrible Batman and Robin, was a million times better than Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Like, I don't care what you say, this was not Robin. This is bullshit. That's what this is. He's not Robin. He's Mr. Bullshit. And it really pissed me off when I saw that. And it still pisses me off to this day. Again, especially like it's like that line delivery that woman says to Blake when he picks up his stuff. It's almost like the writers of this movie just like it's like they turn to the audience. You might as well have run a text at the bottom of the screen like news channels and said, "Hey guys, this is supposed to be Robin." Wink, wink. Because the line delivery felt like that. I mean, who talks like that? You should use your full name. I like that name, Robin. Like, it's like, woman, like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, Robin, you like my name, Robin? It's like, it's a common name. Like this is so stupid. I really hate that about this film, and there's a good portion of this movie that I really hate. And like I said, this is my second least favorite Batman film out of the entire live action films for this. Like, to me, it's Batman and Robin and then this. I enjoy Batman Forever more than this and Batman vs. Superman more than this. Any day. And it's really sad that the Dark Knight trilogy, had to end in such a poor manner because the other two films are impeccable. They're like almost like masterpieces to me. They are the standard for comic book movies, but this right here was just it was just a mess. And I don't know if it's the reason why it turned out like this was because Heath Ledger passed away and that messed up the initial plans that they had, because the Joker survived the Dark Knight. You got to remember that. So I feel like maybe they didn't know what the hell to do and they just kind of pulled this Blake stuff out of their ass, or I don't know, man. But it really sucks. And I'm going to give this film a C minus. And in my heart, I feel like I'm being generous because, like I said, there is a good a good portion of this movie that I hate. I just loathe it and I find it insufferable. However, but when I see stuff like Batman sacrificing himself and how Bruce Wayne had to rise out of that dungeon and things like that. Bane, Talia al Ghul. There's definitely things that I love about this movie, but if I'm honest with myself, there's more things that I hate about this movie. This film is way too long. It's a bloated mess. Chop out all that garbage with Blake and the film would have been like maybe 2 hours and 10 minutes, and it would have been so much better. So, yeah, that's my review of The Dark Knight Rises. Thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, and share. And last but not least, one love, people. Take care. Peace.